I'm sad and I'm awake. I'm not really resting. And then all of a sudden, I just got this like 10-second piece just wash over me that said, today's the day, meaning Wednesday. Today's the day. And I feel like Leo just gave that to me. I feel like he let me know, this is it. I'm done. And you need to know. And so I took it and I felt this immense peace for honestly about 15, maybe 15 seconds at the most. And then I said my goodbye to him and I laid on the floor with him and, Welcome to the Let's Talk Shit podcast. I am your host, Lisa Garrett. I am a wife, mom of 4 boys, 2 German Shepherds, and I'm a gut and psychology practitioner. Look, I know you've done all the things with diet and exercise, and I also know that your health means the world to you. I'm going to show you how your gut health is the game changer to your weight, your confidence, and your stamina. So if you're ready to become the shit in your life, then let's jump in. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Shit. I am your host, Lisa Garrett, and I am so excited to be here. Today is March 24th, 2026, when I'm recording this, which happens to be my 60th birthday. So you might be asking, why are you working on your birthday? Because this doesn't feel like work. This feels like something I'm called to do, and when the calling is there, I jump on it. So I am going to record this episode. This will be the 3rd time I will have recorded this particular episode. And it's all about losing our dog, Leo. So buckle up, grab the Kleenex, because if you've ever owned a dog and said goodbye, this is going to land with you. So if you have followed me on Instagram, Facebook, or just the podcast, you know that I am a major dog lover, specifically the German Shepherd breed. I was raised with Shepherds. Leo is our our 3rd Shepherd. Rocky's our 4th. I don't think it's over for us at this point with Shepherds. I love the breed. I love the breed because it's rugged, it's exciting, they're tough but tender, but they're so freaking smart. That they're goofy. It's like living with a security system. I love that idea. And it makes me be a better person, if that makes any sense. Doesn't your dog bring out the best in you? I mean, just the best. So I just want to share a little bit about the journey in losing him and the bigger picture of it all and what it means to me, because I think so many times we lose our dogs and we just pick up and move on. And that is what's expected because it's a dog, yet we don't really feel that way. We don't feel like, oh, it's, we should, move on or whatever. And so I want to share something a friend sent to me, and I'm going to share this at the end, so you're going to want to stick around for it. But this really landed with me in such a way that I feel like I need to get it out to everyone else who has lost a dog. So I'm going to pull that up right now so it's ready to go. Okay. Okay. So, first of all, when we got Leo 8 years ago, he came into our life when our family, we had some family drama stuff go on with extended family. And we were kind of on an island by ourselves. If you've ever had family drama, you might know what that's like. So when we got Leo, we had just lost our previous shepherd just a few months before. And we lost him on a very unexpected day. He was kind of a sick dog his whole life. And so when he passed, while we didn't expect that day, that's the thing about dogs. Like when they go downhill, it's fast. Like one day they're okay, and then one day they're not. And there might be signs and symptoms that you see along the way, but you might not be dialed into it. But Mace was our other shepherd. And he was another gentle giant. He was actually a little bit bigger than Leo. Anyway, he had seizures most of his life. We did a lot of stuff, and he had his ACL replaced when he was 5. Like, he was just, but nonetheless, we just loved him like crazy. So we lost him, and it was in March too, which sucks because that's my birthday month. And then it wasn't until June when we got Leo. So we bring this, little fur ball home. He looked like a little bear. He was just a chunky monkey puppy. And I'm telling you what, he came into our house with so much love and joy and fun. He filled our hearts and our home with all of it instantly. It's like he just arrived. And so before we were able to bring him home, I researched, and found the breeder I wanted to get him from. And look, I have rescued, I have adopted, and I've gone through a breeder. I love all my dogs exactly the same. All three experiences are all the same for me. It doesn't matter if I rescue, adopt, or get from a breeder. The dogs are awesome because if you don't know by now, your dogs choose you. Let that land for a second. Your dogs choose you. There's an energy that pulls you to that dog you choose. So of all the dogs you can choose on that day, there is an energy that pulls you to that dog. That dog is supposed to be with you. And I've always felt that. So I see this, green boy online and I'm like, that's the dog. So I call the breeder and she's like, well, that dog is already reserved for an older man who needs a service dog. I was like, oh, well, okay. So I was like, well, is it for sure? She said, well, he put a deposit down. So go ahead and pick another dog. I said, I really want that dog. How about if I give you some extra money? So I gave her an extra $500. Then I upped it to $1,000. And she was like, no, you don't need to do that. Let me just double check with this gentleman and I'll let you know. So then she calls me back a few days later. She goes, he's going to go ahead and let you have that dog. I was like, okay, awesome. He was meant to be with us. So we go and get Leo, and he just trotted right up to me, and I held him up, and there's all these puppies, and they're all freaking adorable. I wish I could take them all home, but he just trotted up to me with his little square body and his short stubby legs and his little ears that flopped, like, hey, Mom, I've been waiting. It's like he knew he was mine. He knew he was ours. And I picked him up and I just looked at him right in the face and he made eye contact. I was like, oh, I found the dog I'm looking for. So we take him home, and within 2 weeks, he's potty trained because he's just smart and calm. He's crate trained within 2 weeks. No accidents in the house. He did puppy things like pulling the toilet paper roll. I had puppy bites in all my shoes and clothes, and the needle teeth and all of that. He did all that puppy stuff. But also within the first week, Jim trained him to get the newspaper. And then a friend from my spin class, Christine, knew someone who worked at our local newspaper, and she, shared the story, and they did a story on me and Leo, and it was really about Leo, and he was called the puppy with a purpose because I'd say, go get the paper, and he'd go out and get the paper and then bring it back to us. Well, Leo did that like the first, 4 months, and then right around 6 months, he was like, well, fuck that, I'm running up the street, and he would go out, pretend like he was going to get the paper, and then and just then take off. I was like, okay, we're not getting the paper anymore, because I didn't want him to get hit by a car, and I didn't want him to have a run-in with someone, with a dog, all that stuff. So the paper thing kind of ended. So as, the first 3 years with Leo, here, especially during COVID, like my husband did this patio and Leo was out there with him all the time with a red bandana on, and he went to Lowe's with them. All of our boys moved home because of the whole COVID circumstances. So Leo had all the boys here, and he just had so much fun. What big dog wouldn't want to be with 4 boys? And our boys, were playing ball in the backyard with them, walking him, petting him, laying with them, just jackassing around with them, just having so much fun. And Leo was just one of the boys. And so it was like having five boys. It was totally awesome. So maybe you know, but I did a podcast on Leo's diagnosis earlier. He was diagnosed with thyroid cancer back in October of 2025. We were devastated when we heard that. We knew something wasn't right, but he was acting normal, walking, eating. Everything was normal, but he just was having a hard time going to the bathroom. And they said, well, everything's fine digestively, and he has no arthritis, and his bones are all good, but we just don't know, like what's really going on here. And so they did a thyroid panel, and they found that there was a mass on his thyroid, and they said they're 95% sure it's cancer. So they do that, and they said, the only remedy is radiation, which we don't recommend. We recommend actually removing the thyroid to the tune of like $7,000. And we were like, what? So now we're faced with this decision of spending $7,000 and a week at Iowa State, not to mention going back and forth for checking thyroid and putting, Leo through all of that, which let's just sit with that for a second. Putting a dog through all of that. Dogs aren't really wired for that. So we decided not to do it. We decided to give Leo the best of the best in the time that we had so he could be the dog he wanted to be, and that's what we did. So I got to work and I researched every possible avenue for thyroid cancer for dogs, found out it's very, very rare. He had hyperthyroid, which meant his thyroid was flying high all the time. It's like he was on caffeine. And towards right around Christmas, he started not sleeping through the night, and he was up a lot, panting at our bedside, wanting to go out, wanting to come in, wanting to go out, having to go to the bathroom, hungry, not hungry. I mean, it was like, just popcorn back and forth. And we tried CBD. It didn't work. He was tripping more. He was on mushrooms. He was on dandelion root for his liver. I bought him the best possible raw food I could find and paid a lot of money for it. I met with people I never would have found, and they gave me lots of great information for helping dogs with cancer. And I just gave it up to God every day. I just said, I trust you. Keep him here as long as you can. That was just my prayer, because I knew he wasn't going to last forever, but I didn't think he would die this soon. So we were exhausted. The only regret I have is that sometimes in the middle of the night, I would lose my shit because I was so tired. And every night working on maybe 3 hours of sleep, maybe. And it wasn't even a consistent 3 hours. It was sleep, wake up, take the next shift, then I sleep, then Jim sleeps. And then if Jim was out of town, then it was all on me. So then it was like up with a colicky baby. There was no end in sight. And he actually was a really good dog through it all and a really good patient, because he was like, hey, I'm sorry to bug you again, but I'm so fucking hot. Can you let me out? So there were a lot of times that our sliding door from our kitchen to our deck was just open. I just left it unlocked, and he would nose it open. And I did a briefing on it, could you shut the door? So we started doing that. Jim built a dog house on our deck. He called it Casa de Leo. Leo never, ever went in there except to try and hide his bone the day before he died. He just wasn't a doghouse person. Because he slept inside. But it was Jim's attempt that if Leo wanted to stay outside and the weather wasn't great, he put welcome mats in there, and it was just an attempt. It was anything to give Leo an option. That's really what it was. So, let's see, it was a really hot day in Omaha on a Sunday. We had a great day with Leo. Monday, he started, Jim took him to the vet. He couldn't hold his bowels. They call it a lazy colon. I was like, well, that's kind of new. So he took him to the vet, and she said, yeah, this is what's going on. This won't get better. let's try this sedative at night and try and get him some sleep and use some sleep. So we gave it to him, and he actually went outside and slept in the yard. And if you know anything about dogs, when they're ready to die, they go out and they die. And I knew that was that. I knew he was going to do that. He had never slept in the yard in his life, and he was up like away from our house towards our garden. So I got up at like 3 a.m. I was like, oh my gosh, he's sleeping really good. I didn't even hear him. And then I'm like, Jim, and I don't realize Jim's there. And so I go downstairs and I find Jim outside, and he's with Rocky, and he comes in, he goes, I went to cover him up. I didn't know if he was alive. So he was sleeping in the yard. So he went to take a sheet and cover him. And he goes, oh no, he's alive. He's still out there. So we were just so sad, like, oh, our sweet Leo. So then Tuesday came along, and it was another day. We did our work, and, we worked from home. So we were able to be with him and just be there for him. And it's just that doom and gloom of this is what is coming. I don't know when, and I don't want to fucking do it because it is so painful. It just breaks your heart so much. And if our dogs would just die in their sleep, if that was the guarantee, I'd always have a dog. I've always had a dog, so I don't know what it's like not to have one. But it just, that doom and gloom, and I just, awful. So Tuesday night, we do our thing and try to go to bed. And, like every other night, we get into bed, and here comes Leo panting. So Jim's like, I'll take this shift. And he goes downstairs and he sleeps down there, which is what we did. We slept on the sofa. We called it our family room bed. And, I would take a shift and he would take a shift. And we would just sleep down there with him because it was cooler and he had more space. And Rocky wasn't around. And sometimes Leo would come in our room and Rocky would be like, growling, like, what the fuck? They're sleeping. So we just didn't need the stress there. So we would shut the door. Whoever was in the room with Rocky got to stay there, and then the other one would go with Leo. So it was my turn, and I got up, and it was like 2 a.m, and I just laid down with Leo, and I was petting him, and he was breathing really fast, like there was no relaxing breathing for weeks for this poor dog. And I remember looking at him thinking, how can he sleep with his heart beating so fast? Oh my gosh. And he just, somehow he did. I don't know. Dogs are just so freaking incredible. So I'm just laying there, and I'm just, I'm sad, and I'm awake. I'm not really resting. And then all of a sudden I just got this like 10-second piece just wash over me that said, today's the day, meaning Wednesday. Today's the day. And I feel like Leo just gave that to me. I feel like he let me know, this is it. I'm done. And you need to know. And so I took it, and I felt this immense peace for honestly about 15 seconds at the most. And then I said my goodbye to him, and I laid on the floor with him and, said the goodbyes and thanked him, and, just, I don't want to lose it. Just loved on him, and, that. Give me a second. So, then I got up that morning, didn't really sleep. I just got up off the sofa. I heard my alarm upstairs go off. I had to go teach a spin class at 5:15. So this was 4:30. So I came up and turned the alarm off, and Jim's like, is he okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put him in his kennel. So I'll go, you sleep. And Leo was fine in his kennel because he felt safe. He wasn't walking around, and we had a fan on it, and he was fine. So I put him in his kennel and left for class. And I went and taught my spin class knowing I would put my dog down that day. And, the spin class, my spin family is so incredible because somehow through it all, they make me laugh. And having to show up to teach a class on a sad day was hard, but for 45 minutes, I could just not think about it as much and just pick up on somebody else's energy, which was really oddly enough, very, very helpful on that day. It never crossed my mind not to go to class because they're counting on me. Now, if I was alone and Jim wasn't here and it was an emergency with Leo, I would not go. But I felt like I had my answer. I felt some peace. I felt like it was okay. So I come home from class and Jim's like, he's up and he goes, I'm gonna go ahead, and I looked at him and I said, today's the day. And he goes, yeah, it is. And so we cried and he goes, well, I'm gonna take him for a walk. So I fed him what I normally do, gave him his bone like I normally do, and Jim took him for a walk. And I watched him leave, and Rocky was like out in front, like, let's go. And Leo was lagging behind, and, that had never happened. Usually they're walking neck and neck, and I just, I saw that visual, and it just broke my heart to see him lagging behind. And, I'm glad I'm recording this a third time because as I've been thinking about all of it, Leo gave Jim that walk. Yep. For a dog to try to walk, it's about 20 minutes is all the walk was. We walk a couple blocks up the street to this open field, and then the dogs are unleashed to just run and do what they want. No one's around. There's no other dogs. And if there are dogs or people around, we don't let them off. But typically at that time, at like 6:30 in the morning, no one's out there. So the dogs are able to do their business, sniff around. Sometimes they chase a rabbit. That gets a little cumbersome. And then we put him on the leash and walk him home. So Leo loved that. Leo has walked that walk every single day of his life, with the exception of sleet or ice or extreme cold. But we would walk it during the day, and we would do a bunch of other walks, but that was his morning routine, and he loved it. And so I know Leo gave Jim that walk. I know that was a gift to Jim, like, I'm doing this for you because you need to know this is our last walk. That's what I think he was doing. So Jim took a ball up, and he threw it for Leo, and Leo, ran to get it, like didn't run as he normally does, but, kind of shuffled over to get it. And then when they came home, Leo dropped it. Okay. And so I'm going to leave that alone and we'll come back to that. So then when the dogs came home, they had this marrow bone. And at first we started giving each dog a marrow bone, 2 of everything, 2 Frisbees, 2 balls, 2 loopy balls, 2 whatever. Everything was 2. Well, over the last 6 months, Rocky's like, yeah, I really don't like those. So, save the money. So, but the thing is, sometimes it would start like this growling game between them. I'm like, knock it off. And so Leo would get the bone first, clean most of it. And then he would, get up and get water. And then Rocky would take it. And Leo would just wait patiently. And then when Rocky was done, which wasn't very long, then Leo would swoop in and get it. So that's what happened. And as we were sitting there, Leo walked in and he looked at Rocky, and Rocky had the bone, and Jim took it from Rocky to give it to Leo because we knew it was his last. And Leo laid down right by Rocky, and Leo's paw touched Rocky's. And I shared a picture of this on Facebook. And normally Rocky would have growled or snapped at Leo, like, don't touch me, or just got up and walked away. Well, he didn't. He laid there, and Leo's paw was totally touching Rocky's as if Leo was passing the torch to him. And I took a picture of it, and it was the sweetest thing to actually witness it was like Leo's way of saying, hey, this is your family. You got to step up now because I'm going. And, I didn't know it on that day, but since Leo has been gone, I didn't realize how much protection he provided. Not that anybody's tried to break in my house or anything, but Leo would lay by our front door, and he had eagle eye on doors, people, and it was just like a symbol, like him laying by that front door was like, I got you. You're my family. And he had a deep bark, scary bark. No one could pull up in our driveway, and Leo was at that window. Since Leo has died, we've had plenty of people pull up and Rocky is out to lunch. He's downstairs or he doesn't hear it because he doesn't lay where Leo laid. Leo laid there and he heard everything. And he did that because he was our protector. And so, that was his job. And so him passing that torch to Rocky was like, okay, it's time for you to step up. So, we gave Leo all kinds of love and, whatever he wanted to eat. He loved cheese. He loved apples. I gave him all that stuff, on the day he died. And Jim called our vet and we had them come to our home to euthanize him. I didn't want Leo in a vet's office. I didn't want him around other dogs. I wanted him with us in either his home or backyard where he knew where he was with the people who loved him the most. So they came to our house and we were sitting there outside. It snowed in the morning. Just, Leo had 4 seasons in 4 days the week he died. We had all 4 seasons, and that morning it snowed like an inch. And so we decided that the sun came out that we would, do it in the backyard where the birds, it's spring, the birds were singing. The sun came out. It was a little wet. It was a little cold, but he didn't mind. He was more comfortable there. So we were all outside just sitting with Leo, and it was just very somber, very sad. And 2 of our boys were able to be home, which was awesome. It helped us so much just to have them here. But it is hard to see your guys be sad. It was hard to see Jim be sad. And, really hard to see the boys be sad, because they're men, they're young men. And that's hard. So for a mom, but, so Jim looks at his phone. I don't know exactly what time it was. I didn't want to be looking at my phone because I didn't want to always remember that time. And he said, oh my gosh, they're 5 to 7 minutes away. And I just started crying. I said, I'm not ready. He said, I know. So we took Leo down the stairs and he went fine. It was just sad that we were walking into the yard to say goodbye to him, but he went and we left Rocky indoors in his kennel where he couldn't be distracted and we couldn't be distracted and Leo wouldn't be stressed because sometimes Rocky would stress Leo out. This was all about Leo and us, and we needed this with just us and him. So, and I felt like Leo had already said his goodbye to Rocky, not just in the passing of the torch with the pause, but through the last 6 weeks, like Leo wasn't sleeping by the front door. And that was odd. And I remember thinking, I wish he would sleep there, then I would know he was okay. He was sleeping in our room. He wanted to be near us. And I think that was a lot for him to say. That was his way of saying, like, I don't have it in me. I'm not the same dog. Like, I'm sick. And I remember thinking that and just trying not to think it because I didn't want to believe it was happening. And I think Rocky knew that. Dogs are so smart. Like, they're not like, oh, you're just being a dick or you're just being a baby. They know when the alpha isn't right because Rocky stepped up his jackassery and was sometimes attacking Leo more than usual. And it's because he was showing some weakness because he just didn't have it in him. So we walk outside, and I remember thinking as we're walking up to this like sunny spot on this little hill part of our yard, thinking, how are these guys going to walk back here? Leo's going to lose his shit. Well, he didn't. They came through the gate. Leo looked at them. He didn't bat an eye. His tail didn't go up. It's like he frickin' knew. He thought, okay, let's do this. And let me tell you, Leo Garrett, oh my gosh, no one could even walk on our sidewalk and his paws were up on that fence and he was barking. No one could get near that fence. And if he knew the people, oh, he was super happy to see him. He'd run and get a ball and he'd be, getting a Frisbee. There was no affect from Leo. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's so ready. So they were very respectful. And they explained what would happen and they gave him the sedative and they said, it's going to sting a little bit. So, pet him, love on him. He might want to walk around. Oh no, he did not. He literally went down one limb at a time. And, we were all there with him and just, hang on. I got it. And then, hang on. Woo. We were just loving on him. And our sons, were loving on him and me and Jim. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me get this out. And then I noticed that, he was really leaning into Jim, and Jim was his alpha. And he had grown, closer to Jim over the last 2 months because Jim's the alpha for, I wasn't. I was the mom. I was the mush. Whatever the dog wanted, I gave him. I didn't care. I broke all the rules. Okay, I totally did. I didn't care. I broke a lot of rules with our dogs just because I'm mush with dogs. Jim was very by the book, and dogs need that. Like, they need to know their boundaries. They need to know where they stand. And Jim was that for Leo, well, and for Rocky. He's been that for all of our dogs. He's very, very good with them. But he's also, like, he's not just like he's never mean to the dogs. He's very loving to them too. But I mean, I'm just over the top with them. It's sick and wrong how mushy I am with them. So then, Leo lays down and he puts his chin on my son's hand, on Joe's hand. And, that was just really symbolic for Joe. It was a gift. Leo gave us a lot of gifts that day. A lot of gifts. When our youngest came home to see him, it was routine that when the boys would come home, the dogs would run to the door and get a ball, let's go outside. And that's exactly what Leo did. And he did that with Tony because Tony spent the most time at home with him. Tony grew up with Leo. Tony was in middle school and he got to spend the most at home time with him. So Leo gave him that last play. He gave everybody something that day. And our other two boys couldn't be here. But, our other son, Nick, was home the week before on break and got to spend a lot of great time with them. And Sam was here. Sam played soccer with him a lot. And, I don't know, everybody. But that the day of his death, he gave us all something that meant something to each one of us who were here. And that was just really, like, you guys, that's just bigger than just a dog. That is an energetic being, life, that has imprinted your heart forever. And so Leo did his job. He brought happiness and fun to our lives. He was different than our other dogs because he came into our life at a time when we needed happiness, we needed joy, and he gave us all of that. And, now that he's gone, we have Rocky, and he's quirky and funny, but there's a big, big void here. It's huge. I didn't realize how big the happiness vibe was with Leo. So there's that. So that afternoon we came in, I couldn't watch them take him away. I didn't want that visual. Jim did, Joe did, Tony did. And, Jim did the hard things. He called the guys to come and do it. Watched him take them away, just did all the things that, so I wouldn't have to. Like, he just did the hard shit. So I'm so grateful for that. And, we came inside and we had a fire going because it was cold. And we just were all sitting down and just like, we just been through this death with our dog and we're crying and sharing stories and kind of laughing about when Leo was a puppy. And then Rocky comes walking in and He laid in the middle of the floor and literally just, it's like he relaxed and he fell asleep in the midst of all of our grief. And then it dawned on me, oh my gosh, he's extremely or was extremely stressed with this too. So, about an hour later, kind of gathered myself together and was walking upstairs. And as I came around the corner, lo and behold, Rocky was laying by the front door. He never laid there. He hadn't laid there ever because it was Leo's spot. And I looked at that and I thought, okay, Leo, he got the message. So thank you. There's another gift. He's going to be okay. He's going to be able to do this. So as, the day went on and, it was very somber, of course. Our other son came over, very sad, all the phone calls. Actually, I didn't get any phone calls. I would text people and say, please don't call me because I couldn't talk, I just had to cry it out. I'm still crying it out. Heck, I'm crying on this for Pete's sake, and it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. But there was a certain amount of just like immense gratitude that I have felt every day since we said goodbye to him. And when you're with your dog on the daily, the feeding and the playing, the walking, and I gotta wipe your paws again. Oh my gosh, what did you get into? What? Don't chew that. All the things with your dogs. But when they're gone, you're like, dang it. They took up a lot of space and brought so much good fucking energy to the house, to my heart, to my life. And you create this whole life around this dog. I mean, don't you all talk for your dogs or seem to know what they're thinking? Everybody does that. Everybody has weird things that they say to their dogs or nicknames. I mean, I don't know. There's something about Leo where he touched my heart in a way that's kind of unlike my other dogs. Not that they weren't important or as important. It's just different, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I put it out on social media the next day, and the community has been phenomenal. And what I noticed in all of this was that it brought up the grief of their animals or even their loved ones. And grief has a way of bringing people together because people are like, I get it. I've been there, And so I'm so grateful for the German Shepherd briefing community that Leo helped me build. I mean, last year at this time, I wasn't even doing these briefings. The briefings were a fluke. I did it one day. I thought it was kind of funny. I put it out on Instagram and pretty soon it had 10,000 views. I was like, are you kidding me? So I did another one. And it did another one. And then I thought, well, these are briefings that I kind of do with my dogs anyway. I'm always talking about, my neighbor Karen getting her mail, or Rick, or their dog Sandy, or Kathy behind us, or the beagle Bert. That's not his name. I don't know his name. Or just the jackassery at the window and the growlies at night, all that stuff. That is every day, or was every day in my house. So the briefings came easily, and the community support has just been, I never saw it coming. It just has been phenomenal. So if you are part of that community, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everybody's asking about me and Rocky. We're good. Grief is high and low, and I don't feel super joyful today on my birthday because I don't have the joy of Leo in my earthly life. I'm going to tell you what, he's here. I feel that dog around me all the time. I feel him in the kitchen. Like I always get these chills. No kidding, he's in the kitchen. He is a big foodie. Sometimes I feel the brush up, something against the back of my legs in the kitchen. I know that's him. Whenever I was in the kitchen, he was in the kitchen, period. Because he knew, oh, she's getting an apple. She'll give me some. Oh, she's got a banana. She'll give me some. Oh, the refrigerator opened. Ooh, she'll give me something. And she always did. I caved. But when Jim was in there, no, Leo's like, he's not going to give me anything. Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. I always did. Or I'd say, give that to him. I would tell him to do that. In fact, I told him that the day he died. You're going to give that to Leo, aren't you? And Jim was like, wasn't. I said, yes, you are. So, when you lose a dog, it's a different kind of loss. And I just want to tell you, too, that Rocky's doing okay. For a little bit, he was kind of hunger striking. Not totally, but just kind of finicky about his food, not eating a lot. He seems different. He's a little more subdued. There's nobody to like pick at. He kind of picked at Leo. And he picked at Leo because he wanted to play. Like, come on, Leo, let's do something. He was always stalking him in the backyard. In fact, the day he died, Leo was out there just moseying along, sniffing around the yard, and I saw Rocky come out of nowhere. There's Rocky. Come out of nowhere and just freaking, jump on Leo. He was, and then Leo turns around and just kind of knock it off. Leo could hold his own. He was kind of like Mufasa. He would just give Rocky a swat, and then Rocky would, ow, and I'm like, well, play stupid tricks, win stupid prizes, Rocky. Rocky's name fits him. But Rocky's okay. I think he's lonely. Will we get another dog? We might. Not right now. I got to dig out from this. I got to just grieve Leo, and I got to get some more sleep under my belt. And we just need to be on easy street because it has been a lot. I've been a hospice nurse. If I could tell you what I did for him over these months, I mean, it was nonstop. How can I help his thyroid? How can I help his liver? Am I controlling this cancer? How? And, researching and ordering this and getting this and trying this and watching what he's doing with this. I mean, it was just, I just felt like I was swimming upstream every single day and doing it with very little sleep under my belt. So I will do more briefings with Rocky. It will be fun. We, the community will know very soon if we ever get a dog. Another one. There's just a lot of things that need to go on. We have his ashes back, and we will bury them in the backyard. That's where they belong, in the yard that he loved, with his favorite tennis ball and with, not his favorite tennis ball. The tennis ball itself was his favorite, and an apple. And so the day after we put Leo down, I wanted to share this with you, the ball that Jim threw for him on his last walk. So Jim and Rocky, go up and do the walk, same route, same time. And Jim comes home and he walks in and he goes, look at this. And he has this tennis ball. And I go, oh, a ball. Imagine that. Well, our neighbor up the street is a tennis coach, and he would give all the dead tennis balls to us. I mean, bags of them. And then if you've seen on some of the pictures, Leo would get like 3 in his mouth. He was the king of getting 3 tennis balls. So he'd pop them and then get them in his mouth. Anyway, so Jim shows me this ball and he goes, Rocky found this today. So Rocky went and just found the ball that Leo left up there the day before. So that was Rocky's gift. Isn't that cool? I just love that. So I want to share this little bit of information from a friend of mine that sent this to me on the day that Leo died, and it was published in LinkedIn, and I can share the link, but she said, I came across this today and thought of you. And so this was on March 11th, and it's about when a beloved animal dies, what remains? And this is written by Michelle Marisical or something like that, PhD. I don't know if I say her name the right way, but I'm going to read it to you because if you've ever had to say goodbye to a pet, this will land. The loss of a beloved pet can leave a very real and tender space in your life, not just in your home, in your body, in your rhythm, in your spirit. Whether your companion was a dog, cat, horse, rabbit, bird, or another cherished animal, they were not just a pet. They were a presence. They were a steady heartbeat in your daily life. They witnessed you. They sat beside you in the silence. They sensed your mood before anyone else did. they loved without agenda or condition. When that relationship changes or ends, something sacred shifts. Grief is the natural and normal response to the loss of a relationship, and yet pet loss is often minimized in our culture. We hear comments like, you can always get another cat, or at least you had your dog for many good years. Well-meaning words, but they rarely touch the depth of what was shared. Because grief is not about replacement. It's about the space between what was and what feels unfinished. For many pet owners, part of that unfinished feeling is connected to the moment they had to make an incredibly difficult decision, which is to euthanize their beloved animal. Even when it's the most compassionate choice, many people quietly carry questions that linger for years. Did I wait too long? Did I act too soon? Did I do the right thing? These questions can sit heavily on the heart. What was an act of love can slowly become tangled with regret, guilt, or second guessing. And because others often minimize pet loss, people rarely have a safe space to speak about those feelings openly. Spiritually, pet loss can stir deeper questions. Where does all this love go now? Who am I without this daily role of caregiver? Why does something others consider small feel so large inside of me? What many people do not realize is that unprocessed grief doesn't simply disappear. It can show up as disrupted sleep, difficulty concentrating, lowered motivation, or a quiet heaviness that lingers beneath the surface. Especially for busy professionals, it's easy to move forward externally while something internally remains incomplete. Healing does not mean forgetting. It doesn't mean loving less. It does not mean replacing. Healing means bringing completion to what feels emotionally unfinished so that the memory of your animal companion carries more warmth than pain. If you are carrying something tender around the loss of a beloved animal, whether recent or years ago, this space may be for you. Your grief is not small. Your relationship was real, and your heart deserves care. I'm going to leave you with that. Love on your pets. And until next time.
Hey, before you go, would you like to receive my ultimate gut repair guide for free? This guide has everything you need to know about leaky gut, what's causing it, how it's affecting your daily life, a meal plan, and 5 ways you can start healing your gut today. This is the same framework that my VIP clients use when they start healing their gut. It's amazing. All you have to do is leave an honest review of Let's Talk Shit, screenshot it, share it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at Lisa Garrett Nutrition. I hope today's episode inspired you to make some shit happen in your life because you're freaking awesome. And I cannot wait to connect with you next time on Let's Talk Shit.